Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Upcoming in June, there's the House Oversight Committee is planning on meeting with, actually speaking with some pilots, hearing from some pilots, and we found this out because during a recent town hall online, Representative Tim Burchett, who's interested, who's been stating publicly now for a while that there is a cover-up, and he thinks that it's time for the American people to know the truth about what's behind UFOs and who's operating them, and he's very steadfast in his belief that there is a cover-up and it's time to end this cover-up. During this recent town hall on May 9th, one of the a question was posed to him by a Twitter user who goes by the name of BroDog42, and he actually published the audio of this on Twitter, and I will leave the link so you can listen to that audio. But I will read what the question is and how Burchett responded to it. It says, I got to speak directly with Representative Tim Burchett today about UAP. My question, can you elaborate on your efforts to lead a UAP-related hearing with the House Oversight Committee in June, and if you have considered requesting the director of ATIP, Lou Elizondo, to testify in addition to pilots and other military personnel who have encountered UAP? And according to BroDog42, it's Congressman Burchett's full response. Yeah, Luis is a buddy of mine. You may or may not know that. He's a good friend of mine, and right now we're sort of in negotiations with the speaker, and the speaker is McCarthy. And he's told me, and Chairman Comer has both told me, that we will have hearings on this because they agree with me that it has been a cover-up. And I think in the first meeting, it'd be very important that we have the pilots in there and just let them talk, because we've given them this opportunity, so it won't put a blemish on their record, and being the opportunity for them to talk, because, of course, there's now that whistleblower protection that is out, that was signed into law as part of the 2023 defense spending bill. So they don't have to worry about that anymore. Anyway, continuing with Burchett's comment. And so that's where we're going to be heading first, I think. And there will probably be a series of hearings, I predict, because it will be international news, I suspect, because we've got these sightings and they're in military installations. And as of last count, officially, we've had over 13 near misses with our aircraft, and have something in our airspace that we do not control and we do not know where it's from, whether foreign or elsewhere, to me is very telling. And the fact that this country has continued to not trust its people and not put out the truth when they do have the truth, to me is kind of scary. So yeah, we're going to keep pushing it, and I'm not going to give up on it until they run me out of here. Oddly enough, there's probably one of the things I get the most flack over. But if you poll the populace, it polls pretty high, so it's across the board too. People don't trust the government, and they like to know what's going on with this thing, because this is past the stage of being a phenomena. It's just well known. We have physicists and scientists and Navy pilots and Air Force pilots who swear they've encountered something. So yeah, we're going to get on it, and I thank you for that question. Again, I'll leave a link to this to this thread that BroDog started, where he talked about this. You could actually hear the actual audio where Tim Burchett is actually making these statements. And actually, Burchett is among a handful of Congress people for a while now who have been open about it, who have been talking about this, who want to seem to get to the truth. It seems like Burchett has been more outspoken about it more recently. I lost a little faith after the last Senate committee hearing on this recently, where Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of Arrow, had stepped up to the podium and basically downplayed the entire thing, and from a lot of people believe was just a bunch of lies. And so we're going to have a hearing. Now, I did check the calendar for this House Oversight Committee for June. I went online, and there's nothing scheduled yet, so we don't have a date on when this first hearing, like Burchett says that he wants to have a hearing in June with pilots. So it's not scheduled as of yet, as far as I could see. I can't find any date on there. And then, of course, he said he wants to, after that, he wants to have further hearings. And that would be nice. Of course, the pilots shouldn't have to worry, because, I mean, if they're protected by this whistleblower language, then they shouldn't have to worry about any kind of repercussions or any legal entanglements or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see what these pilots have to say. So this is pretty big news. And I guess it's another step forward to finally getting to the bottom of this, to finally getting to the truth, right? But again, like I always say, I mean, we could avoid all of this. This could all be avoided, if we just, if this secret control group would they should be the ones coming out and testifying. These pilots, they have no idea what they're seeing. They could come out and testify and say, hey, look there's these objects doing things that are running rings around our aircraft. We have no idea what they are, but they're not going to have the actual evidence to be able to say, well, this is, we have the proof that it's extraterrestrial. No, they don't, because that gets buried deep inside into the control group that's behind the scenes, keeping the secret for all this time. So, but again, it's still, you have to be, it's something, it's better than nothing. I mean, there was a time, you have to remember, when there was absolutely no congressional hearings about UFOs. There was nobody stepping up to the plate to talk to Congress about UFOs. Now, at least we have something. I mean, we're moving forward. I'm still not calling this a slow disclosure. I feel like right now we're in a position where Congress is going to have to push this. They need to push this. They need to push, because otherwise this control group does not want to give it up. Otherwise they would have given it up already. I mean, why do we have to play this game? Because there's a control group that somehow was authorized at some point in the past to maintain this secret, to keep the lid on this, to keep the reality away from the public. It's time we move forward. It's time we move forward, and hopefully, maybe this hearing, hearings, I guess, actually will start off with a hearing with some pilots, and then maybe after that we'll get some other hearings with some other officials who want to go on the record, and hopefully these hearings are not just closed door sessions. I want some stuff to be talked about. I want some important stuff to be talked about publicly when it comes to UFOs. That would be a lot better. So hopefully, Burchett and hopefully it's a bipartisan effort. I like to see both Republicans and Democrats, try to push this, because it should be a bipartisan. There should be no politics when it comes to UFOs. There really should not be. This should be a bipartisan thing, and it really, this slow disclosure that started back in 2017. It has been, for the most part, a bipartisan effort, and we need to maintain that. It needs to stay that way. So anyway, let's see what happens. We'll see what happens at this hearing. When there's a schedule, when there's a date that comes out, for sure. Of course, I'll talk about it on my show here, and of course, we'll definitely, if it's going to be broadcast. I mean, if something like C-SPAN is going to show it, of course I'll definitely provide it on my channel, and talk about, critique it, as it after it's over. So that's something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to actually hearing people. After the Sean Kirkpatrick disaster that was in the Senate committee recently, I mean, we need something to wash that taste out of our mouths, the taste of lies, right? We need something to wash our mouth. Hopefully this, right? Well, these pilots testifying will serve as that mouthwash to get rid of that rotten taste, right? That's still lingering. It's still a malingerance. So I can't wait to see it. I can't wait till this hearing comes around. It should be very interesting. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, we are back. I want to talk about I want to go over some of the comments that I received from my followers on Spotify as well as on YouTube. I received a lot of great comments, and actually it was suggested to me by one of my followers on Spotify, because I had an episode where at the latter half of the episode I did a rundown of I run these polls on Spotify, and I did a rundown of the polls that I did, and this one of my followers, BTrain0031 suggested or stated, I liked the rundown of the polls at the end. I think it would be cool if you did an episode going over some of the more interesting Q&A replies left on here, Spotify, as well as some comments on YouTube. So yeah, that's what we're going to do here today. I'm not going to sit here and read all all the ones that are praising my channel. I'm not going to be, like, here's one today I received from Cosmic Wanderer. This man is absolute legend. We need this channel and podcast more than ever. Thank you. Well, it's really nothing. I'm not going to sit here and read, though I do appreciate those comments, don't get me wrong, right? But I'm not going to sit here and read those off because, that's just, don't be so modest. But no, there's a lot of great comments here, a lot of different things. We'll start here on YouTube. Now, I recently just did my most recent podcast was evidence of a mile-long UFO mothership to revealed by scientific group in July, and I've received some comments on that. There was a comment here I received from David Wartsky. It says, you know what, Jim? Something weird just occurred to me. Everybody has been saying how birth rates are down, testosterone levels are dropping, and that we may be headed for a population collapse. Sure, some of it is economics with China, for instance, and China, for instance, is currently suffering from their disastrous one-child policy that ended years ago, but that doesn't explain why, during the past 50 years, human sperm counts appear to have fallen by more than 50% around the globe. Now, this is a stretch, so I wouldn't put too much behind it, but during many alien abductions, the aliens seem to be studying human reproduction. Betty and Barney Hill, for example, reported that the aliens took samples from them. Lots of other abductees have reported similar experiences. So, is it outside the realm of possibilities that aliens might be responsible for our declining birth rates? I mean, how difficult would it be for them to put something in our atmosphere, chemicals that might lower our ability to reproduce? And they could do it gradually enough so that we really wouldn't notice it, at least not for a while. And once the population begins to collapse, the human species will slowly be eradicated. Maybe that's how aliens plan to get rid of us and take over the planet through gradual sterilization. Just a thought, but hey, I'm probably way off base here. Makes you kind of wonder, though, doesn't it? Yeah, it does make me kind of wonder. So basically, he's saying this because during that podcast, if anyone, for those who have listened to it, I was talking about the possibility that what's happening on this planet is a colonization. Their aliens have been colonizing it for the past 75 plus years, since the great UFO wave of 1947, when it seems like they showed up in force. And basically this has been a slow colonization, and I suggested that even perhaps they're working toward an end game where at the end of they're going to get rid of us, and maybe they'll use some sort of psychotronic technology to actually have us all traipse mindlessly into motherships where they'll fly out over the ocean and just press a button and the floor drops and we all just drop in the middle of the ocean and just become fish food. I mean, we don't know. I mean, again, a lot of people out there say they know everything about aliens. I don't. I know they're here because I've encountered one of these beings and I've seen one of the craft, like I say just about every podcast, I think I say that. Yeah, probably every podcast. So I know for a fact. But we don't really know what the end game is. We don't even know how. We know that there's all different types too. That's another thing. I mean, it seems like the prevalent ones, the ones that are behind the abductions, are these greys and reptilians and praying mantises. But there's all other kinds of aliens that people have seen, people have reported. So it's not just those, but they seem like the prevalent ones. They seem to be the ones behind the scenes, up to no good. There was a response to David on this comment. Says from fact or fiction, or fiction or fact, actually. He says, good thought, would confirm to the upper part. In the lower part, my suggestion would be they know of the possible overpopulation of planet Earth, and that's the intention, I guess. They are steering the population. Yeah. Oh, and here's another response. This is with regard to the recent podcast titled Defense Department Reopens Case on 2019 West Coast Pyramid UFO Sighting. KJ stated, it consistently drives me nuts how debunkers will tear apart videos and photos, grasping onto any other possible solution that barely fits without any consideration to the credibility of the eyewitnesses. That is a huge blind spot. They decided this video was bokeh and moved on, so it's amusing that it's being reconsidered by Arrow. So yeah, that what we're talking, in that podcast, I was talking about that pyramid UFO that was seen over the warships in 2019, and how the Defense Department's now going to look at it again, and Arrow's going to be looking at this again and reconsidering it and trying to determine what these objects were. There was a lot of people and a lot of debunkers out there, like video game programmer Mick West, who claimed that those pyramid objects were actually stars or planes or whatever, something that was prosaic, and that the effect and they were triangular because of the aperture in the cameras. So yeah, they always the debunkers never ever. For one thing you have to notice about debunkers: they will not touch the really good UFO incidents and alien encounters. They won't touch those things with 10-foot poles, because they know they're gonna. They try to stay away from things, for instance, like the Ariel school incident, because they really don't have. How could they? I mean, they try sometimes, but they come off so ridiculous. They sound even more ridiculous than the concept of an extraterrestrial presence that extraterrestrials were responsible. So they'll stay away from certain things. But see, this is easier for anybody. I mean, we really don't know. I mean, the bottom line is, how do we know what that is? We can't say with absolute 100% certainty that the objects seen over those ships were extraterrestrial. I don't see how that's possible. So and debunkers know that, right? They know that. So that's why it's so easy for them to just say whatever they want, because they, as far as they're concerned, they know that it's going to be. How could you ever prove otherwise? So at the same time, there are some other UFO where the pictures are very clear. They'll just say those are fake. Then when it's unclear, like the pyramids over the warships, okay, this is a bokeh effect. When it's something like the McMinnville UFO, well, that must be a fake. That's how the debunkers operate. And then here, yeah, this is another on that's with regard to that same podcast. King Fool on YouTube stated, "This is one video I've gone back and forth on a lot. It's definitely one of the more controversial pieces of footage. I remember a video back in the 90s shot on a camcorder that showed a diamond-shaped UFO over the skies in the UK. Further investigations revealed it was indeed a bokeh effect as the camera zoomed in. I don't recall what, if any, object was the subject of curiosity for the person filming, or they had simply meant to dupe and fake a UFO sighting. So I have to admit, this is what I thought this was at first glance, albeit this time causing a pyramid-shape effect. The things we can know for sure is it's a legit piece of footage filmed by the U.S. Navy from a warship. And regardless if a bokeh effect is happening, there is a craft, pyramid-shaped or not, flying above the warship that couldn't be identified. Any domestic, international, civilian, or military craft would soon be identified, yet these, to our knowledge, could not be. This one truly has me changing my mind again and again. The flashing bothers me. It flashes like a terrestrial craft would. But then why couldn't it be identified? This definitely is one I'd like to get more information on, like the corresponding radar data. Surely that holds the key to this mystery." See, yeah, I mean, and I guess you got to say this. I mean, even if they do get the radar data, I mean, and they show that there's objects there, are they still going to be able to identify them? I don't know. I mean, we'll never know. I don't think we could ever possibly know what those pyramids were. I mean, we'll never know if it was extraterrestrials, if there was drones from China. I just don't see how we'll ever come to a 100% guaranteed conclusion. In my mind, I just don't see that happening. I don't believe it. I just don't see how. I don't see how you could. I don't think we're ever going to know. Like, there's some cases I don't think you're ever going to know. There are other cases. There's other photographic evidence, like I just stated before, like the McMinnville photo. I believe 100% that was extraterrestrial. I don't think that those farmers lied at all. I completely believed the Trents, Evelyn and Paul Trent, who witnessed this thing. Paul Trent took 2 photos of it. I believe that. I believe that picture of a flying saucer that was taken hovering over that farm in McMinnville, Oregon back in 1950 was real. There are some pictures I look at that I think are real. And that's one of them. So, but not all of them. I mean, some of them you just don't know. When they're shaped like that, though, like something that's saucer shaped, right? For sure. Especially these older photos where it was hard to fake things like that. Before the days before CGI, it's just it's most certainly something from not from here. And actually, some researchers reached that conclusion. For instance, Bruce Maccabee, the optical physicist from the Navy, reached the conclusion with the McMinnville photo that he believed it was something that was not made by mankind. I think that was like pretty close to a direct quote there. But anyway, let's go. We're going to switch over to some of the comments that I've been getting on Spotify, and let's see here. Oh yeah, not only comments. I want to talk about the. There was a poll that I did on one of my recent podcasts. Avi Loeb, extraterrestrials might have created the universe. There's 30 votes on that poll already, and I asked this question: who or what created the universe? And I gave the choices. Actually, it's a tie right now. Okay. God received 9 votes, as well did other. So both other and God each received 9 votes. Extraterrestrials received and that accounts for 30%. Okay, of the 30 votes. Extraterrestrials received 7 votes, or 23.3%, and the Big Bang received 5 votes, or 16.7%. So God is in a tie right now with other as who or what created the universe. Now, of course, that podcast was about Avi Loeb stating that the possibility that extraterrestrials might have been responsible for this entire universe in which we live. and that's a very mind-boggling concept to even consider. I think we should, like I suggested during that episode, I think that we need to, just let's try to figure out what these aliens are first that are here, and then worry about, maybe a million years, or maybe, a billion years from now, maybe we'll start trying to figure out, who created this universe then. I mean, if you want to start questioning something like that, then, I don't see how you could ever, I don't know how you'd ever get an answer to that. And I received some comments, and that was actually where I received the comment who from B Train, who liked the rundown of the polls. But I received a comment from Fred, and he said he agreed with me. He said we should take it one step at a time. Let's get the rest of humanity on the same page. Introduce the nut and bolt saucers first, something we can all agree on. Then explore consciousness and more abstract ideas. Yes, I agree with that sentiment. That's most certainly. So, yeah, I mean, we can't be. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that we need to be worried about what these, who created the universe. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with, hey, you believe God created the universe, that's fantastic. If you want to believe extraterrestrials did it somehow, whatever you believe in, that's fine. Okay. Anyway, and then there was another recent episode I did with regard to this extraterrestrial that was photographed in 1967, allegedly. And the title of that podcast was Extraterrestrial Photographed After Exiting White Sphere. And I received some comments on that one. And the one, Flipside01 said, why? And he was talking about the picture. And if anybody who checked out that podcast knows that there was a picture in there of this, looked like some kind of a strange being. And behind it was this white ball, and skeptics and some debunkers were trying to say that no, it was just like a Barbie doll with a different kind of doll head snapped into it, and it was and the suit, the metal looking, the shiny metal suit was actually aluminum foil that was wrapped onto it, and the white ball in the background was just an egg. Now, I didn't agree. I don't agree with that. I think I'm going out on a limb on this one. I think that picture was real. I think that was really an extraterrestrial. All right. And Flipside01 said, why wouldn't they say it's a baseball in the background? It looks more like a baseball to me. That's probably where the door to the craft is. Why would a 14-year-old make this up? Bingo. Totally. Why would a 14-year-old kid make this up? There's a kid named Ronnie Hill. That was the kid who took the picture. First, he said he saw basically a black hat, like a strange craft that looked like a black hat flying around. Then some sort of a sphere came out, a white sphere came out of it. He ran to his house to get the camera. It comes back out, and the white spheres landed, and then this being comes walking out of it, and he was able to take a few pictures. Only one of the pictures turned out, and it shows that being. Now, a lot of people don't know whether it's real or not. I believe it's real. Doesn't make me right, but I believe it's real. And then N Miller 88 on Spotify asked me, "Is this similar to the being you saw when you were younger?" Well, the fact of the matter is, I never saw the being's face. I only saw its arm and hand because I was too afraid to look at its face. I avoided that at all costs. You have to remember the situation that I was in at that time in 1977. I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm sleeping in this attic, and the light's on. The whole room's illuminated. We used to leave the light on a lot on the top of the steps. So I wake up, and I wake up to this humming sound, this loud humming sound, right? And I could see I had this blue, it was in the summertime. I had this thin blue blanket covering my head, and I could see there was something standing right by my bedside, right beside the bed. I could clearly see its arm and a hand. It had this hand that only had 3 fingers on it, and the fingers were like thick at the bottom and came to almost points at the tips. And it was getting right over my head. I could see through the blanket. I could see it through the blanket, the arm. Right, and then it was shadowy in the background. There was something there. There was something standing right by the bed. I never pulled the blanket down to look at this thing. Now, this lasted for 20 minutes, but I never looked at its face because I was too afraid. I thought it was the devil. I had no idea about it. Even if I would have thought it was aliens at the time, I wouldn't have pulled the blanket down. But at that time, I didn't even know about extraterrestrials, that they might be real, that they might be really coming here. I thought it was the devil or demons, or a demon. That's what I thought it was, and I was too afraid. And so I never got to see its face, so I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I do know somebody who saw, like those blue creatures that were described by Whitley Strieber. I always make a mistake on how to pronounce his last name. He described in Communion seeing these blue beings, and I know somebody who encountered one of these blue beings, and when that person looked at that picture, that person said that it's very similar to the blue being that this person saw when that person was a kid. So I think this thing was real. I don't think that kid made that up. Hey, but then again, doesn't mean I'm right about this one. It does not mean I'm right. But again, I don't know regarding N. Miller's question. I don't know. I mean, we can't really see in the picture here. For one thing, you can't even see the hands or the fingers. It's holding some sort of an object in its hand. It had the being that Ronnie Hill took the picture of had some sort of a funnel that it put near the ground and then picked back up again. And in the other hand, you could barely see it. You could. It looks like it might have 2 fingers, but I don't know if the thing I saw was I don't know. I can't tell. You can't tell from this. I don't know. I mean, and then again, there's a lot of different kinds of aliens out there. Who knows what variety showed up in my bedroom that night? It was of some variety, but I don't know the variety that only has 3 fingers on its head. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Okay, let's go find some other comments here, some more recent comments. Okay, this was I did a podcast on FBI muzzles Texas ranchers affected by cattle mutilations. And Joshua Harder on Spotify commented, "What would they have us eat? Bugs? Plants are alive. Their problem is that animals have faces. We won't eat it all and just die. Sounds like a great plan." I suggested in this podcast when I was talking about the cattle mutilation mystery, I was talking about how it may what might be happening, what these cattle mutilations might be. It might be a way of the aliens communicating with us, like they're because of how we treat cattle. I mean, we basically slaughter them every single day horribly, and then we eat them. We're all eating steak and hamburgers, and maybe the aliens are just doing this to try to send a message to us and say, hey, see, they're slaughtering these cattle too on a somewhat regular basis in an effort to try to send the message to us to show us how horrible of the thing that we're doing here to try to get us to all become vegetarians. Of course, this was I don't know if I'm right or not. I just was making that suggestion. Who knows what it is? I mean, they could be using it themselves for food. They could be, these cattle are drained of blood. Some of these aliens seem like they're insectoids, and maybe they live on blood, and that's why they're doing it. We have no idea. I believe extraterrestrials are responsible for cattle mutilations, but the purpose behind it, we just don't know. We can only speculate. And one of my ideas was, maybe they're trying to send us a message that maybe we need to, stop killing these friendly animals. That was just doesn't make me right either. That one doesn't make me right. Okay, let's see another Spotify comment here. The problem with somebody actually commented here. Kyle James Meller, 1990, in the on Spotify, commented that with regard to a different podcast I did called "The Problem with UFOs Captured on Film and Video," and I mentioned I was talking about cattle mutilations a little bit there too. He says. But no, I wasn't. I was not talking about cattle. He had to come here because you can only comment once on Spotify for each podcast. So he had another comment he had from the next podcast about cattle mutilations, and he brought it here and he wrote, "I know why the cows are mutilated. Had to write it here as already replied before. Earth's poisoned. That's why they take the mouth, tongue, stomach, anus. This is where the cancers form. They know." So basically, he's suggesting that the aliens are studying the cattle because the earth is poisoned, and I don't know, maybe they're trying to help us. I don't know. Could be. Could be. They're trying to determine how poisoned the earth is. Maybe they're trying to determine how poisoned the earth is because they want to make sure it's all cleaned up before they finally before the complete takeover and they boot us out of here. I mean, who knows? Again, all of this is all pure speculation, and I love getting the comments. I mean, there's so many great comments on YouTube and on Spotify, but. We just don't know. And here, okay, switching back over to YouTube now, I received a comment, and this is on that Avi Loeb podcast where extraterrestrials might have created the universe, and I received a comment here from Ned, and he's talking about Avi Loeb. He says, obviously, he's an intelligent man, but this is just too much to consider, really. He does have a good imagination, though I have to admit that. So then where did those ETs come from? Who created their universe? It's beyond the human mind. We'll never know, man. That's all I know, no matter how brainy you are. As you say, if ETs are watching, they are definitely thinking, what the WTF is going on with this lot? This species is crazy. They're off the charts. They blow each other up and they destroy their only home. It's like a suicide mission. And for what? Most of us don't live past 80. I'm 53 and I find myself asking the same questions, what it's all about. How did I get here? How did it all start? There must have been something there before the Big Bang, was there? How? Oh, my head just exploded. Anyway, great show, Jim, as always. Well, thank you very much, Ned. Yes, that's how I am, too. I mean, I think that's the whole idea behind... I want to say something about the podcast here. The whole idea behind this podcast, I mean, most people are... I mean, a lot of UFO shows, this is more informal. I mean, this is the way regular... I'm just a regular person out there talking about this who's very interested in this, who has certain ideas and thoughts and concepts, somebody who wants answers, wants the government to stop lying, because I just know that they are. I know that they're keeping secrets from the world. And that's I think other people out there think this way, the same way I do too. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not some polished somebody. You hear there's a lot of podcasters out there, and they all have good shows. I listen to different people there's this guy on Simon Bone from the UK, I believe. He has a British accent, very polished, well show on Spotify, very interesting stuff. A lot of people like that. This is not like that. This is more, I don't know, just the regular old dude out there talking about this, and I think that's the kind of comments I receive. It's all about being completely open about it, and not. While there is some preparation before I do this, for the most part, it's just me. Stream of consciousness. I mean, this is not. I'm not sitting here with the script. Of course, like I read from articles and I present some videos and things like that sometimes. But for the most part, this is all stream of consciousness. I mean, it's a lot of things I'm talking about. It's things that we all think about with regard to this whole phenomenon. A lot of people are like-minded. Like Ned's comment here, it's like-minded. And I think that's how a lot of us are out there thinking. Like we hear people talking about this, but they're never really talking about it with a complete, open, truthful manner. Like that's the issue for me. Like I mean, instead of when there are things I'm not sure about, of course I'll state that. But the reality is there's an extraterrestrial presence here, and we're just pretending that it's not. The human race, for the most part, is pretending that it's not. And even some of the best UFO investigators out there sometimes pretend that they're not sure. They don't know for sure. I heard like Nick Pope the one day on an interview. He's not sure. Well, what are you talking about? Not sure. What? Not sure. I mean, you've been studying this, haven't you, Nick? Yeah. So there's just a lot of. To me, and then there's other people though. There are other people out there who just who know that there's something going on. Like that's why I love listening to people like Richard Dolan. I love listening to Preston Dennett. And among some other researchers, right? They know that there's something going on here. They're not dummies, and they're not going to act stupid over this. They know that there's an extraterrestrial presence here. There is, and we all know that the government's lying to everybody. But it's, we just want more information. We want to know what they know. That's it. I mean, of course, like I always say this, we don't need to know what they've learned in their reverse engineering. We don't need to know the details, right? What we want to know, what they know. How many beings do they think are coming here? Do they have any idea what they're up to? There's things that we should know, that we deserve to know. And we put people in power. We put these people in power, right? And what do? That's an abuse of power, as far as I'm concerned. That's abuse of power, because if you put people in power to serve you, to serve the people, and then something happens like this. This incredible. They're presented with the incredible facts that there's extraterrestrial presence here, and they keep it a secret for over 75 years now. That's not serving the people. That's treating the people like dirt. It's time that we get over this, and I feel like the audience that I've been building on my podcast. I think the kind of people that are listening to this kind of show are the people that are thinking the same way I am, and they're sick of it. They're sick of it. I'm sick of it. And here I got a disagreement recently, and this is on another podcast I did. This is from Oreste Fafak. And this was in the podcast, and this is on YouTube. UFO control group UFO control group selfishly clutches onto extraterrestrial secrets. And he says here, for once, I disagree with you, Jim. Sure, I want the truth to come out, but I don't think the control group should be pardoned. In fact, I think they should be prosecuted. Now, I'll read the rest of his comment here in a second. Now, of course, I was saying during that podcast, and I've stated this before. Once the truth comes out, this is just my opinion. It's definitely not the opinion of everybody. Of course, like Arrest says here, right? I think that we should just move on. Forget about filing lawsuits against the people that been holding on to these secrets for all these years. Forget about that. Let's just move forward, right? Let's just move forward. But some people don't agree with that. In fact, like Oreste here says, in other words, I don't think the carrot works better than the stick. These guys have been hiding the most important news from humanity, and from presidents and elected members of parliaments, and I think this is a crime, a big one. Have we seen any attempt from them to come clean? Nope. The opposite, it seems. So the truth will come out anyway, sooner or later. Not from them, and when it does, let a trial begin, Nuremberg style. UN run it, maybe. Trials serve a purpose, not only to condemn, but to make sure the public, the world knows and makes it a symbol for a future reference. I just commented back to him saying, yeah, maybe I'm being too soft on this group. Well, again, this is why, and this is the thing. I'd rather just move forward because... and forget about this stuff because, because it's going to make, to me, right, that's probably one of the reasons why they're still not wanting to come clean. And that's why hey, don't worry about it. We're not gonna hold you. We're not gonna complain too much after you finally come clean. And for one thing, right, whoever authorized this, right, those people, that person or persons are probably long gone. This has to be going on for it's been going on for over 75 years, but where did the initial authorization come that apparently put control of this whole issue into the hands of private groups like weapons manufacturers, right? Like who established this? What kind of documentation provided this authority? See, I know what's going to happen, right? There has to be. It's going to when the truth finally does come out, they're going to have some documentation that says, "Hey, we were doing this because we felt it was an issue of national security." And that's what and all countries are going to say. Any country that comes out is going to say this was national security. We had to keep this quiet from you guys for all this time because we just didn't know what these beings are up to. and we needed to study this privately. And they could say stuff like, well, and if we did come out with this information, we weren't sure. We weren't sure exactly what would happen. Like if governments of the world were all to come out and say, hey, there's extraterrestrial presence here and we don't know what they're up to, that might cause the extraterrestrial presence to go and to take some action. I've actually heard, I think Lou Elizondo made a statement to that effect. Like it's unclear on what might happen. Like once governments finally admit to the truth, do the extraterrestrials do something then? The next day we wake up and we're looking out, everyone's looking outside and it's like Independence Day with giant motherships hovering over, 85% of the globe. I mean, well, what happens? I mean, is there any fears to that effect? There could be. We don't know. I mean, there might be. And I said this before. I hate saying this. I hate this possibility. The possibility that just because people like me and you are all sitting here crying about we want to get over this hill already, and we want the governments to come clean on the extraterrestrial reality. We might be wrong and not know it. Even though, despite, I don't think, no matter what, I don't think we're wrong. But from their point of view, they might think to themselves, we can't do it no matter how much they cry about it, because we just can't do it because of this reason, a reason we're not aware of. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to try to do more podcasts on a regular basis. This is just a small sampling of different comments I received from people. I received a lot of comments, and I want to say I really do appreciate people who become followers and subscribers. I got a lot of followers. My followers can continue to grow on Spotify, and I really appreciate it. And my subscribers on YouTube continues to grow. It's been slow over the last couple of years, but it's more and more. I get more people, and I do appreciate when people give me. The only thing I could request is like on people on Spotify. If you're someone who follows me on now, I'm available. My podcast is available on 10 different platforms, but the main one is through Spotify. My host is Spotify for podcasters. So if you are listening to me on Spotify, I would really appreciate if you could give me a vote on the app that's on the phone on your phones, and if you're listening to me on YouTube, I will please subscribe to my channel. And I don't usually say these things, but I'm saying it today because I'm talking to the people who listen to me, and I'm just trying to I appreciate that stuff. I just want to let you know, when you guys do things like that and give me thumbs up and follow me and stuff like that, it is very much appreciated, and I thank it, and I thank you very much for it. Anyway, until next time.